Tech Fit is more mobility.
Yeah, and
Do they incorporate yoga in it, or like some? Because I think when I saw you do the warm ups, there was like some formal position of yoga, like maybe with like the downwards dog.
yeah, there definitely is some crossover. I think the big difference is this is something that my friend Chris Grayson was teaching me a while back. This is probably at least 10 years ago. He was saying that the research more and more is starting to show that dynamic movements are safer and there's more benefit to dynamic stretching before working out than there is to static stretching. So for example, if I'm holding a stretch, counting to 10 to 20, just basically holding the stretch for a prolonged period, that would be called static stretching. Static stretching still has value, especially like after training, hours after training. But if you're right about to train, you're about to go and compete, there's more research showing that that can, static stretching before competition, before activity, is starting to show that you're more inclined to injury. That was a little bit of a shock because the way, pretty much every way I was exposed to is like, that's how we stretch before we work out. In gym class, in school, that's how we were taught. And
That was weird. Growing up too, like in school, like they would always teach you like stretch before class, like static stretching before
that was the norm.
working out. And then now going to school and then not doing my own research and everything, like the same thing. Talking with Chris Grayson especially. Yeah, all the research is going towards dynamic movement so you don't stretch too much, so your muscles aren't too limber. And
So
they're not.
your research is showing that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like, I've been knowing that too. So I was always like, man, we shouldn't be stretching like this before class. And people would just, they're still stuck in those ways that they're just like, oh, I'm just going to do a static stretch here and there. Maybe like if you have really tight hips, maybe stretch those a little bit, but not to the point like that where you're like getting a whole yoga session before active training session like that, especially like jiu-jitsu
Yeah, that and so that.
or weights.
Yeah, I heard that's the same thing that I was taught, and so yes, every now and then you have something that's like, wow, this is not normal. This thing is overly tight. Some static stretching, there's exceptions.
Right now, I'm training at GVN Performance with Jake Nitschke, shout out. But it's like static stretching. It's like long stretches, but it's more of like it's very active. So you're not doing dynamics like groiners to like opening up like that stuff, but it's 90-90 hip movement, and then he does like pails and rails. Do you know what those are? Like basically like you go in deep and then you put pressure against it. So you're actively like, you're in a pigeon stretch, but you're pressing 80% into the ground. So your glutes firing.
Oh, so it's like PNF stretching?
That's what I thought, PNF.
And then
PNF.
pulling yourself in, like then now you're actively like pulling with your groin and your abs like in. So it looks like static stretching, but it's not. Like you're sweating.
It might be PNF, I think, or like some form of it.
Yeah.
Where basically, you use the resistance against it to stretch, and then you open up a little bit more because the resistance adding to it allowed you to open up more. Yeah. That's really good.
That is interesting, right? If you just stretch the muscle, it's not necessarily going to give you what you're looking for, right? It's so fascinating that there are techniques involved in increasing the flexibility, and I think genetically, static stretching has been super difficult and hasn't come easy.
There's some people that swear by just, like I've listened to podcasts on stretching, and they say that if there was one form that they would do, it would just be PNF stretching. They would say that that's like the best way in terms of what you're looking for if you want to get more flexible, faster, with like a better experience, I guess, to put it simply.
The thing is, it's wildly difficult. It's so hard to do it yourself.
Yeah,
you need a partner for sure.
Yeah, like you need somebody to like timing it and like telling you and like forcing you to actually do it right.
Yeah, Chris Grayson, I used to always ask him after training when he was around, how can we do the stretching, the PNF stretching? And then when he was doing it, I was thinking to myself, like, man, this is like a type of service there's a lot of value to it because I started to see that I am increasing in my flexibility. There's something to this technique or whatever you want to call it.
Well, now there's places like the stretch lab.
That's what I'm saying. Now I'm starting to see that.
I go there
one down the block
I
from
go there
me.
twice a month.
And I was always wondering, like, what do they do? Do they actually go and you just like stretch for you?
PNF stretching.
Oh, okay.
They do it and then press into me and they go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
But it's intense. Like if you're trying to relax and get a massage and like open up a little bit, stretch lab is not for you.
Now you're there to work.
You're laying there and like you're breathing and like you have to focus because they're opening you up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does that typically look like when you go there? Is that like you pay per visit or?
They have packs and they have monthlies. Yeah, I just do the two per month. Yeah.
Man, I was going to yoga 2 times a week at Export back like maybe a couple years ago. And during that whole month, I was just training. I was going to jiu-jitsu as many times as possible and yoga twice a week. And I've never felt better. Like in terms of like how limber I was. Like I wasn't even going like crazy, but like I just felt like I was walking more upright. I just felt like I was able to walk without like, oh, I'm tight here in my hips, especially my hip flexors.
Yeah.
Like I just felt more alive in a way.
I can't recommend the stretch lab enough. It's on because it's 50 minutes. They literally stretch you for 50 minutes. Like when's the last time you sat down and stretched yourself properly, breathing the whole time?
You know what
for
funny
almost
is?
an hour.
When people say, all right, let's stretch, they stretch for like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and they're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
call it a day.
Yeah, I think from my experience, it's all math. If you go to 3 classes and you're sparring in 3 classes, okay, let's assume that's 60, 120, it's like 200 minutes or something. How many minutes are you stretching or doing mobility or in the ice bath or like doing something that's, because I think the older we get, there has to be a balance. If you're doing an hour of working out and an hour of recovery, this is kind of like what you were just describing. It seems like this is the perfect balance. You're getting the benefits of the workout. You can still walk straight and feel good, but if it's just all working out, then we're not feeling like that. I don't think.
To get like more into like the woo section of it, the area of it, it's like when a lot of the tightness, there's also a lot of like trauma inside of it. You know, a lot of tightness when you get like scared or whatever, you come in tight like this, right? But when you're confident and you're feeling good, you tend to open up more. So same thing when you're stretching and there's some difficult spots that you're working on, that tight area could be like you letting go of some stress or some trauma or inflammation that's causing bad behaviors or bad habits or bad thoughts, negative thoughts.
Yeah, is that was it David Goggins was talking about that, or?
I think so. Yeah, he was one of the ones that I remember saying something like that, where like there's just so much negativity that once you opened up, it's like.
And the psoas muscle, right?
That's where I have my issue with. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the PSO, right?
Yeah. No, I don't have. But one of the students here used to have one, or he used to come here and he had one.
Yeah.
And it sucks. It hurts.
Yeah,
it hurts a lot.
It's I use it and it works for me.
Do you just like chill on it?
Yeah, so I, every time it's like it hurts, and then you just relax, and before you know it, the muscle sinks into it, and you can tolerate it.
The thing is, I didn't know if it was hurting because I wasn't doing it right, or if it was hurting because like, man, I'm really tight.
Yeah, it's
like,
in the
really,
wrong
like,
spot.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
causing
like,
hernia.
I'm really messed up, or like it's working, you know.